Yeah.
All right. It is now 7 o'clock. Thank you all for your patience. I'm glad you found time to be with us this evening. It's 7 o'clock on the 24th. Press and public have been duly notified. I'm going to please ask for everybody to please stand for an invocation and pledge of allegiance. Let us bow our heads. Oh, Heavenly Father, we begin our work this evening. I ask that you remember all those who work so hard for this island to keep it a beautiful place to visit and a wonderful place to live. We ask that you guide us tonight and every day so that we may continue to keep this a safe, nurturing community, and so that we may be good stewards of this island for generations to come. For it is in your name I pray, amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Great. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Burkhardt.
Here.
Councilmember Vitelli.
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Loftus.
Yo.
Councilmember Stone, out of town. Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Mayor Conley.
Present.
Administrator Tucker.
Here.
And Attorney Halverson.
Here.
All right. Under citizens' comments, I'm just going to make a comment that as of the 1st of October, we're going to move to consolidated dispatch. We're informing everybody of that. You've read about it, but it should be no change in the service that you receive in calls to 911. Hopefully, we're as efficient using consolidated dispatch as you've experienced using our dispatch here on the island, but that's going to take place on October 1st. I hope it moves smoothly as I expect it to be. Under citizens' comment, we had a note here to update on the election laws.
You don't want to skip the minutes.
I'll come back to the minutes. I'll go back to the minutes. Is there an issue on the election laws that requires discussion or presentation?
I think that there were some questions that came up when we received a notification from the Charleston County Election Commission, who handles our elections, and the notification which came into Clerk Copeland was that none of the names of the uncontested candidates would be on the ballot in November, and also that since no one had declared as a write-in, there would be no ability to write in. And when that information was conveyed to the candidates, and then immediately there was a good bit of buzz because it had seemed to be a little bit different from the way things have been handled in the past, that under our recollection. Our understanding is that based on the research that the city attorney has done and her conversations with the attorney for the Charleston Election Commission, who handles our elections, that would not necessarily be contrary to state law to do it that way. However, they have reversed that decision after some dialogues back and forth, and the candidates' names will be on the ballot, the uncontested candidates' names, which are Sandy Ferenz and Pat Harrington, and there will be the ability for there to be a write-in. I don't know if Sterling has anything that she wishes to add with regard to all of that, but I don't think there was anything wrong with the way they planned to do it, other than it was not what we were accustomed to.
I don't think I have anything to add. I would just say that there are other municipalities within the state that are following, by the book what the statute says to do, which would have been to not hold an election for those unopposed candidates. However, Charleston County and the commission and their attorney have interpreted it in a way so that we will be able to keep that on just as we had planned before.
Okay.
There's some differing opinions out there on it. I don't think it's really our place to make the decision. If the county commission is interpreting it that way, then I think I'm satisfied with that. So.
Okay. No other points to be made? Go back to item 2, reading of journals of previous meetings. You have the regular meeting of August 27th, minutes in your package. Motion to approve or amend?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion, corrections, deletions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's done. All right, we'll move on to reports of standing committees.
Citizen comments?
Don't we have any other
Oh,
citizens?
more citizens' comments. Oh, excuse me. Any other citizens' comments? Thank you. Going. Please.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Steve.
Please step up to the mic. Give us your name and address.
My name is Dean Murray, and I live at 1100 Pavilion Drive. And I just wanted to bring up, it's nothing really serious or anything, but my wife and I own a unit over at the Ocean Inn, and I just wanted to make it known that if the city wants to, store items in there, vehicles, I know right now there's a boat being stored over there, and it's been in there for quite a long time. We just wanted to ask if you could please make it standard procedure that any type of vehicles like that, if they're going to be in there for a long period of time, could they just be please stored at the back of the lot by the dumpsters out of Plainview? So I'd talk about tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. Now we'll move on to report of standing committees. All right, Ways and Means Committee. We have a lot to report. We met on September 17th, 5:45. All were present. Marty was in the West Coast checking out salmon, I trust, making sure it was still up to standard. First item of our business is we had the FY14 CARTA budget to approve, and we approved the CARTA budget, and as the other municipalities have done, CARTA budget is moving forward from that perspective. We heard from our treasurer. Year-to-date, we're 2 months into the year. Our target expenditures would be 17% of budget, and we're currently running at 12% of budgets, so that's all to the good. Our cash balance in the general fund is ahead of FY13. We have a little over $3 million deposited in the bank on short-term conditions. Councilman Buchanan recognized that our parking revenue is up significantly for the last 2 months, and I'm assuming that's a result of both the kiosks and the parking lot income being higher. Do we have any more information on that?
Yes, sir. That was also had to do with 2 months worth of timing issues. So while we did see a gain or an improvement in revenues in that time period, it wasn't, and we do think that some of it had to do with the increasing in the hours. It was not to the level of 40%, and I do have the exact figure, but it was much smaller than that.
Okay. Looking at our tourism-related accounts, we received the municipal accommodations tax, really for the first month, this July period. We received July's activities, the funds are received in August, and we receive it 1st of September. It's $183,000. It's the largest single-month receipts we've received as a city ever. So we are currently running at 11% ahead of prior year. The only other activity was in our hospitality, and we're right there running at 3% ahead of FY13. So that's all to the good. Our projects status is relatively stable, although we did receive a grant of $100,000 towards from CTC funding for our Phase 2 drainage work. That's the work from 52nd to 45th Avenue, and so it's the first funding we've received from the County Transportation Committee, so that's a good news because that's the process which we went about in funding Phase 1, and so hopefully it's once we get started with them, which we've now started, that each year they will continue to grant us funds to a point where we can at least start thinking about phasing the construction if it comes out that way. We'll come back to some other points we discussed in a moment. Because they're on the bottom of our sheet, I'll call them by order. Well, let me do it this way. We went on to award a sole source contract to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $6,516 for the police radio service and $6,960 for the fire department radio service, for a total of $13,476 at a state contract pricing, which is included in the FY14 budget. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on this? All in favor, please say
You
aye.
had one point, yeah.
Question. The wording on the agenda said, "At state contract pricing and included in the fiscal year 14 budget." Is it not true that what we are voting on is $600 over the budget?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. With that clarification, any other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One no. We moved on to award a contract to Jones Ford in the amount of $27,437 for one Ford F-150 pickup truck for the fire department at state contract pricing, again included in the FY14 budget, and it's replacing the 2003 vehicle. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? None heard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, sole source contract. This is for a 3-year contract with Zambelli for the up to $27,000 per year for the July 4th fireworks show. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? None heard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next was award of a contract to Jeff Jackson in the amount of $1,800 for horticultural services related to Mayor Carmen Bunch's Park. This is the park on the far side of the commercial area where we need to clean up some of the vegetation, but protect that which is worth saving. So I'll make it a motion to award the contract.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
One abstention. Thank you.
And just for the record, in accordance with proper procedure, Councilman Ward has in other committee meetings and will for this meeting provide that reason for abstention in writing.
Yes. Award of a contract to Civil Site Environmental for $8,500 for drainage, engineering, and design, again, between 56th and 57th Avenue. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion on 56th, 57th drainage? None heard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Again, award of a sole source contract for used motors in the amount of $182,805 for the budgeted purchase of one Mack GU. I suppose we could make some name up for GU. GU 713 garbage truck. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
just want to clarify that this is one of the first purchases without financing, saving us money over future time, which is great.
First piece of capital equipment we have not used capital leases for. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. Award of a contract to Central Industries in the amount of $15,525.95 for fuel dispensing in consideration for upgrading of stainless steel and blender improvements in the amount of $1,094.87 for a total of $16,620.82. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion on the fuel dispensing and consolidation? Jimmy?
Is this the budget?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I think it's below budget.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
No other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Okay, approval of change order in the amount of $5,450 for Ocean Coastal Consultants contract for design and permitting of the tidal wave water sports dock. Currently, the contract is $26,600. This would make a new contract of $32,050 against the budgeted amount of $32,600. I'll make that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
And could I ask a real property to explain what's going on here?
Yeah, definitely. We're doing a lot of hand-holding down there. And there's a lot of discussion between the tenants, the adjacent property owners, managers, and the city. So it's taken a little bit more work to refine the project, and in doing so has incurred a little more cost for my engineers. But I think come high water in October, we'll have it taken care of.
Okay, we're getting close to a
Either way. we'll
off
have
the
it-
cliff, or?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Quit dealing with my kids.
Jimmy?
Yes, sir. On that right there, do we have any kind of cap on that? I went down there today just to kind of look at the whole situation and, what if and what if and what if on this?
Would you like me to respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
What if, are you talking about?
Well, I'm saying, we're putting an additional price on this, but the design, I don't think is over yet. And, what's to say it's not going to be drawn out even further? How many times are we going to increase this design?
Well, I'll be happy to respond, and to clarify what's happened down there was a design was approved. It came through the committee and came through council, and we went out on for the permit. And on the public comment period for the permit, one of the adjacent property owners objected to the design. And in an effort to try to be accommodating to the adjacent neighbor, the committee and council, went back to think this through again to see if there could be any modifications to the design as cost-effective as possible to try to still accomplish the goal of the needed replacement of the dock, but at the same time try to meet the needs of the adjacent neighbors. You see there that we're up to what's in the budget for design, and so I think that what Councilman Buchanan's saying is that I don't believe that the committee is going to want this to continue much longer, that we're going to have to come to a decision concerning what alternate is going forward on the permit and what is going to be constructed. As you know, it is in the FY14 budget to replace that dock. There's money budgeted to do it, and the dock has kind of gone neglected in terms of patchwork other than what we had to do. Correct. Because we knew that it was time to replace it, and we're going to replace it. That dock is basically a residential dock being used in a commercial application with visitors and customers on it every day, and it's in the best interest of the city for it to be sound.
Thank you for the clarification.
And I'll have a lot more of it in the
Okay.
3 real property
Right.
reports.
Okay. We'll do this again. All right. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to add 4550 to Ocean Coastal and Consultants contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Bless you.
All right, that'll be recorded. Sorry about that. We're up to item 9, award of a contract to Stantec. This has to do with our parking management plan. They presented us with 3 tasks. Task 1, which is defined as parking permit program implementation plan, was in the amount of $68,750. Task 2, which is defined as Isle of Palms on-street parking review, which was $17,560. And Task 3, which was defined as Isle of Palms on-street parking field verification, was in the amount of $12,970. Again, this is in the budget.
I'd like to request that all 3 tasks be voted on individually.
Fine. I'll make a motion to award Task 1 of $68,750 to Stantec.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Please.
I'd just like to say that I know based on the Stantec's presentation last month, they kind of took parking on Ocean Boulevard off the table. I think we're doing ourselves and our citizens a disservice with not having them take another look at that. If we're going to look at a plan for the entire island, we need to look at the entire island and not say we're going to look at the entire island except for this several block area. To me, that doesn't seem fair to all the residents in the island. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'd like to add, I agree with with Councilman Vitale. That did not come out during the Ways and Means meeting, by the way. So I definitely think that we should take a total comprehensive look at the island and decide on what parking should be.
I don't know that it's excluded. We didn't tell them specifically to include or exclude anything, did we?
That's correct. I think that if it is the will of the consensus of the body that it be included, then we could certainly give that direction to Stantec.
Do we need to vote on it?
I don't think it was ever taken out.
It was never taken out.
Well, I'm just saying
So
it was
it's in there until some action gets taken. We're taking no action.
What I'm going by, and I quote last month's minutes, is Councilmember Stone asked whether the program contemplated opening Ocean Boulevard to parking, and Mr. Day responded negatively, which I took to mean that somewhere in his individual discussions with council members, he received a negative input to that. But I think that for the same reasons I just said, I think we need to really address it.
Can't we just have the staff speak with them? I mean, I don't know if we have to vote on anything. That should be included.
I suspect by the time we're done, there will be numerous locations that will be included and excluded, not just one little piece. Jimmy?
Yes, sir. Thank you. When we met with Rick Day individually, one of his questions to us was he wanted to take the politics out of parking and let him do his study on the whole island. And I thought that's what we were doing, is for him to look in each and every road on Isle Palms. So I thought we were going that direction.
We've asked them to look at all the roads and to identify who owns the roads. And
I'm not hearing politics come up into it, but anyway, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on Task 1? All in favor of Task 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Before us is Task 2. I'll make a motion to award $17,560 for on-street parking review. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion on Task 2? None heard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Task 3 is Isle of Palms on-street parking field verification in the amount of $12,970 for part of the parking management study. Make that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Discussion. Michael?
Mayor, I just don't see Task 3 being effective. I think the way it's laid out on the task, I think we're missing one very important component, and I really don't want to spend $17,000 on consulting until we can get an answer to that, and that is what Department of Transportation will allow, will not allow as far as rights-of-way. So I think that money would be just, $12,000, excuse me. I think that money would just be going into the pot, which we're not going to get any real benefit out of that pot.
Well, until we get DOT, but I mean, this is field verification. DOT has no field verification. We need data in order to try and influence DOT in any direction we're going to go. Right now, we don't know anything. I mean, other than our impressions, and everybody at this table has a different impression on every street on the island. So, I'd rather work with data than just loose. That's my personal opinion. Anyone else? Okay. No other discussion? All in favor of Task 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion?
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
2, 3 noes. All right, motion carries. I'd like to, again, not in your immediate agenda, but in our minutes, I wanted to bring up the fact that we talked about the front beach restrooms. This is an area that council and various committees have taken up to worry about the front beach restrooms and the care and maintenance of them. Are they adequate? Should they be replaced? Should we maintain them better? How much more of an improvement can we not afford, but can we execute within the FEMA guidelines not to violate the 50% rule, et cetera, et cetera? It's in the V zone, which makes it even more difficult to work with. After a long discussion, we decided to defer any action in the public restrooms until we obtained a lot more information, and Douglas and members of the staff are off working, beavering away, trying to get us more information. But it's something we will keep on the agenda until of Ways and Means until we get to some further resolution as to whether we're going to keep what we've got, improve it, or take it away. Okay. Also, at Ways and Means, we had a long discussion on a recommendation from the Recreation Committee, and that was to award a sole source contract to Holiday Designs in the amount not to exceed $25,000 for holiday lights. Items have changed since we met at Ways and Means, so I'd like to renew the motion to the award of a sole source contract for holiday designs in the amount not to exceed $25,000. I'd like to make that as a motion here and discuss it, if I have a second.
Second.
Motion is seconded. If you all recall a discussion, basically back to staff was to go out and see if we can't find some sponsors to help offset the cost and support holiday lighting. I can stand here and say I've gotten 4 sponsors to date, and I haven't worked very hard at it. I haven't had time. But we have 4 sponsors, and we don't even have a sponsor program put together yet. I'm looking at Norma Jean out there. She's looking blank in the face. Some are willing to contribute capital, a few $1,000s. Others would prefer to have an annual contribution. We've checked with the county parks on James Island and how they do it. Of course, theirs is a whole different scene, but they do annual sponsors, either 1-year or 2-year annual sponsorship commitments, ranging from a few $100s to a few $1,000s. I guess many $1,000s if I read some of the bigger ones. But of course, they're being exposed to hundreds of thousands of individuals passing through who are also paying for the privilege of passing through that area. I also found in the fine print the sponsors get so many free passes, so if you convert the pass to money, it makes it a lot more palatable. So I believe we have sponsors coming forward that we should go forward, commit the capital, buy the lights, and then get the sponsors to put their names up and work forward on either working with Norma Jean, working on an annual basis, or an initial capital program, or some other way to keep the sponsors happy. But their names would be on the displays and properly rewarded for it. So that's my point to make. Any other discussion? We've discussed it at length at Ways and Means.
Well, that's just for perhaps someone in the audience who doesn't know the history of it. This came from the ATAX committee, who embraced it and voted for it unanimously, considering it was something to add to the winter carnival that would hopefully bring people onto the island and help out our businesses. It went to the Recreation Committee, and it was also unanimously voted for. So, and it was also voted, it was a part of the budget. So I think we should move forward with it also.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
I did not support this in Ways and Means, and I still don't support it. I feel that the concept of this money can be used in better funds. This is something that we really don't have the example. No one's told us what the cost would be as far as electricity, as far as storage of these items. Okay, and I know we talked about we could find space for them, but I believe Linda stated during the meeting that she'd like to add additional units next year or whatever, and so this is to grow this thing. It's going to be a considerable amount of capital. My other thing is we're dealing with a sole source vendor. We haven't even put this out to bid, and when you really think about it, at the pricing we're getting right now, right before the holiday, we're not exactly going to be getting the best prices. But if we put this out to bid, if the council went that way in February, you have some very hungry vendors out there that would be able to give us a much better deal on this. So I'm still not in support of moving forward with this.
Okay. The issue is sole sourcing. I mean, this is a piece of art. There's no way to bid a piece of art. It's a matter of construction, how you want it. They'll design it any way we want it. There's a piece of art, so I don't know how to put it.
I think the staff did research it, and they told us, and they really, it's hard to compare. They're not apples to apples. Everything's a little different. We're using the same people that Johns Island uses. It's someone local we can actually drive to. They can service it. It's not coming from China or whatever. It can be adapted to, say, IOP Fire Department or whatever. So it's sort of a unique business, isn't it? I mean, they're not going to be around every corner. We're not going to get a bid from Costco for it.
We don't get many recommendations from the Accommodations Tax Committee as to how to market the island in a real positive way in the off-season that we can embrace that's economical enough that we can afford it also. And I think this is one that's right in the sweet spot of the season, and everybody will feel good about it when we're all done. Whether we build it into the future, that'll be left for others to decide. Jimmy?
Are these lights going to be turned on every night for a specific period, every single night? I've gotten complaints from merchants on the front beach that during the holiday period, it's dark down there a lot during the week. Dark a lot. Like the palmetto trees aren't even lit up. Secondly, I understand that we're going to put these displays at the rec department and at the marina. Is that correct?
Well, I suppose that's up for discussion.
Sure. I mean, we had tried to think in terms of picking out displays that might be consistent with the message of island life and placing those. Some of them would be at the front beach. We have limited with the amount of electricity that we're using down there and the outlets that we have down there that we're using for the palmetto trees, which are turned on and off at a specific time during the season. We were going to put some of them at the front beach, but then also try to include some at other thematic locations, to try to be a little bit of a draw. And we had even thought about trying to post something on our website that would encourage people to ride around and look at all of them. I don't know that we could accommodate all of them at the front beach, but there are definitely a couple of them that we had hoped to add to the front beach, but then maybe also include one at the rec center. Rec center's already got some lights. This would be an augmentation of that. Also at the marina as well. And just to clarify, we did check, we picked one design, the snowman, and checked 5 different vendors regarding that. We tried to get consistent sizes, and we tried to look at things like proximity for this first purchase, because we're a bit in foreign territory in terms of this, and we wanted to have people that we would have access to if we had any kind of problem. So we did seek pricing from 5 different places. The Holiday Designs Company in Gainesville seemed to be able to meet all of our time targets and seemed most familiar and knows the people out at Charleston County PRC on James Island. We felt like that was an advantage as well. So that was the reason out of the 5 that we got information on, and that they also have the longest warranty of any of the vendors that we checked as well, and we liked that.
I want to have some follow-up when you finish, but
I'll finish.
Okay.
I can finish.
I don't see the correlation between a light at the rec department as a proper use for accommodation tax funds. That's not putting heads in beds. I thought originally the feeling was that this was going to be push everything down to the front beach, get the Holiday Festival off to a grand start with all of these lights. Now, amperage can be added to the existing supply down there. That was my original thought on it. And my last thought is that what I heard at the Ways and Means Committee meeting last week is that we're projecting a $194,000 deficit in property tax revenues over what those corresponding expenses will be. This is not a good time to be spending money when we're in a deficit situation unless it is something that's absolutely necessary. And we're all about the holidays and Christmas and everything, but I don't think that this is absolutely necessary.
Well, frankly, if we thought we were going to be in deficit on property tax, we would have changed the millage. But we're about not to do that here because, frankly, we don't think that's actually going to come about.
Yes, sir. I just see what's on the paper that was given to me.
Well, and this has nothing to do with property taxes, right? This is tax money.
Right.
And this is accommodations tax money, of which we had a surplus last year, and we're already running well ahead of prior years, even the 1 or 2 months that we've already got this year. So, and we don't do enough with those funds to market the island. And so I think this is a good way to market the island in the off-season. I'm not sold on having one at the rec center either, but we haven't put the plan together because we haven't come up with the funds and authorized the funds to go forward. Then we'll look at what are the designs we can attract for the monies, and then we'll decide where we put them, given power requirements. The last thing I want to do is put a display in front of somebody's window when they're trying to sleep, things like that. So once we authorize, if we authorize the expenditures, we can then sit down and come up with the designs, and then we can figure out with the ATAX committee, who's well represented here, and the rec department, where we're going to put these, along with the properties that are in the adjacent areas. I mean, it's going to take time. That's why I'd like to move tonight, so that we have time, so that we can get it done by November, so have them in hand. Jimmy?
I'm sorry.
Give me Jimmy a chance.
To follow up on Councilman Ward's suggestion, I think, number one, it is in the ATAX budget, $25,000. And I think if we were to try to concentrate these lights at the front beach area where our merchants are, where our Christmas tree lighting ceremony is, we can create our own mini festival of lights. We can get people to come out here and take their kids around. Maybe the merchants could offer, hot chocolate. When they get in there, they start spending money, which, creates more tax money for us. So I think if we're going to do it, let's have a plan to do it, and do it in a central location as opposed to all over the island.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was just going to add that it doesn't make sense to have lights at the marina. In fact, if you remember last winter, we voted as a council to allow the marina store to change their hours because the business is so slow back there. And so they close early now, so people will be going to look at lights and they want to be able to go buy a Coke or something. So I don't think that's should be an option if this passes.
Okay. Any other points? Ryan?
Just a couple. I mean, the idea was this was a drive business to the front beach area. I think we really need to focus on that. I don't think it necessarily has to be all huge structures. I think, like you said, it's going to start small, and eventually every year, maybe perhaps you can add on to it. I think primarily what we need to do first is go through whether we need to change the amperage to include or to up it so we can, have maybe more pole displays or tree displays or something along those lines, and increase the displays down. I think what we really need to do is create a gateway to our front beach area. Start lining up J.C. Long Boulevard and going down 14th, and I truly think if that's what we're going to do, that's going to be better for our front beach businesses and move forward on it. That's what I would like to see.
If I had a dream, we'd put our lights in, then we can convince the county park to put lights in our park, and we have a drive-through and marshmallow stand and whatever else. I don't want a merry-go-round, but, a marshmallow stand, or something where people can feel comfortable. And we offer a beach. People can walk the beach even at dusk and feel safe. But that would involve the county park to offer their property up for some sort of display sequence also. But call that phase 2 or 3. We're not at phase 1 yet. Jimmy?
Mayor, pardon me, I'd just like to make one more comment. I would be much more amicable to the plan if I knew the lights were going to the front beach only.
Okay, I'll add to the motion. I'll add to the motion that all the displays will be between the 14th and 10th.
Second.
So we have to vote on that first?
No, that's part of my primary motion. I just added it to the motion. Can I do that?
You second your original motion, you're amending it.
I did.
To agree to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Are we clean? We get a little carried. All right, we're on. All right, we have a motion and a second. We've all discussed. More other discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
1 no. Very good. Thank you. Moving on now. We had in your package, I'm buried in paper here, but I'm going to... Yeah, I'm up in the loft. This time of year, we always are requested by County Assessor's Office to reconfirm the millage that has been approved by Council through the budgeting process. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the FY13 millage to remain the same at 22.9 mils.
Second.
Motion and seconded. This is the same millage we've had for a number of years. No change. And okay. Any other discussion? None heard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Millage will be the same. Next item is the approval of distribution of FY13 year-end positive net results. We had a net result from our general fund of $813,312. Before we close the books for our auditors, I'd like to make a motion that we transfer $100,000 to our disaster recovery fund and transfer $600,000 to our capital projects fund, leaving the remaining balance of $113,312 in our general fund. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? And this is obviously good news that we have net results to decide what to do with. And typically, we follow this same pattern. Most recently, we have been adding to our disaster recovery, but we have historically always added to our capital projects. That's our only funding source for the future years on any capital. So, any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
One no. Okay, thank you. The only other item, more of information, is that we refinanced our marina bond. Our remaining debt there is $1,450,000, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
We had a interest rate on previously of 5.15%, and we refinanced it. And that financing will be moving to closure within the next week with the Tennessee Bank. Is that how they pronounce it?
First Tennessee.
First Tennessee. And we're going to have an interest rate of 1.74%, significant reduction from where we were, and that will be a savings on interest over the remaining term of the note of about $127,000 net of all expenses to pay lawyers and other folks. Lawyers always get their due. Not an offense. So that's for your information, and that's very good news for the city, and we're moving on with that in the next week or so. I guess we sign the papers in a couple of days, and
That's correct.
we'll get the money next week. All right, no other Ways and Means items. Let's move on to public safety. Barb, are you going to?
Yeah, I will do that. Public safety meeting was held at 5 p.m. September 9th with the mayor and I in attendance, with Marty off catching fish. So much of the meeting, the minutes here have already been covered in all the different motions to pay for this and that. So I'm going to move right on to the fire department report. August 7th, the personnel responded to a call for a swimmer in distress in the area of Deweese Island. After 90 minutes, the swimmer was found on Isle of Palms in no distress. On the 27th, personnel responded to report of a large dumpster fire near a home in Ocean Point. Upon arrival, crews found the dumpster with an active fire inside, but not threatening any buildings. On the 30th, personnel responded to the 900 block of Ocean Boulevard. An individual had been pulled from the water, having trouble breathing. He was placed on oxygen, and a full assessment was done before he was transported. In August, the personnel responded to 139 calls. 94 of them were EMS calls. The chief noted that the call report from Charleston County does not indicate the seriousness assigned to the call. She indicated that she would look into why that has been changed. It's good for us to know that fact. A new fire inspector performed 12 inspections in the month and found 52 violations. In addition to the report, Chief Graham came to us with a situation that we're going to have to face. We are losing firemen. Our rates, their rates of pay compared to all the adjacent fire departments are lower, and we need to face this, that we can't keep turning over firemen. We can't have rookies all the time and lose experienced people. So we're looking into that. Also, we are short one man at Fire Station 2. Again, we're looking into the costs, but as it stands now, Station 2, which has so many serious calls and to deal with tourists, is one man short. So that could possibly come out of ATAX money, since ATAX money is related to tourism.
That's one man per shift.
One man per shift, true. 3 men, right, which is even more money. So in the police department, Chief Buchanan reported August 2nd a complaint that 2 men stole a golf cart from Boardwalk at Grand Pavilion on August 16th. The department received the information that Mount Pleasant Police Department had located the stolen golf cart in a wooded area in their jurisdiction. How it got there, of course, is the magic question. After being processed for evidence, the golf cart was returned to the owner. A latent print was lifted, but so far we don't know who did it. Weekly follow-ups with 8 rental companies involved in the property identification program. The companies advised that the project has been placed on hold due to lack of staff and the level of activity this time of year. The police had another meet and greet, and we encouraged them to do more of those with the local citizens. In August, dispatchers responded to 4,975 calls. 3,807 were the Isle of Palms Police Department. There were 411 traffic stops, which generated 117 tickets. 39 arrests were either liquor law violations or traffic offenses, and the officers responded to 17 noise complaints and wrote 10 citations. We asked the chief, and I guess this is on the agenda, talking about the increased time on the meters. Are we going to talk about that?
That's the last
item. Well, I'll leave that as a surprise then. The administrator noted the fire prevention parade is scheduled for October 9th, so when you hear all the sirens go off, don't panic. And the Barrier Island Ecothon will take place on October 27th. Our next meeting is October 5th in City Hall Conference Room.
Very good. Any questions for public safety?
Mr. Mayor.
Please, Jim.
On public safety, I've got some concerns about the turnover and have been watching it. I found it interesting 2 weeks ago in the Post and Courier, there was a front page article on Sunday about the downtown Charleston Fire Department and the turnover down there. So we're not the only ones who are facing the same kind of issues. So I just found it interesting. I just want to make note of that.
I think the causes are different, but yeah, we have to deal with our own. Okay.
There was a motion to move that forward to Ways and Means. It didn't come to Ways and Means, though?
No, they're still fighting through the numbers.
Okay.
We had some questions.
Got it.
And if I could, while we're talking about public safety, another article in the news in the Post and Courier was talking about firefighters and how they had a new fire chief downtown, how the firemen wanted to get in and put out fires. And I would like to recognize our chief for abiding by the safety standards that all fire departments should be looking at and not rushing into fires unsafely. We're going to get the job done, but we're going to do it safely. We're going to make sure that our firemen are safe. We want to get the fire out, but we're very concerned about our firemen also.
Safety first. Looks like a decal, right? All right, any other questions for public safety? All right, moving on. Public Works, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works Committee met on Tuesday, September 10th. All committee members were present. Underneath our department reports, Director Pritz reported that he had authorized a Saturday debris cleanup. I don't know if you all have recognized the amount of debris throughout the island, and now that it is slowing down tourist-wise, that it's starting to get picked up a little bit more. But that involved 4 staffers for a period of 8 hours. As for July, the focus of the month was beach sweeps. 8 were done in the month. The heavy rain that we had this past month, the city had to deploy its pumps on 46th and 51st Avenues on August 15th and the 16th. Some street signs had to be replaced on 6th, 7th, and 8th Avenues. They were either knocked down, taken as souvenirs, or just misplaced. Or all the above. The director also noted that trucks have been brought up to safety specifications. He also reported if the trend continues with the garbage being down and the yard debris up, and we've always noticed that. And one thing he had brought up in his report stated that he thought that once a week garbage collection could begin the week before Labor Day, as the collection has trended very low. So and he would know best than us, but in order to do that, we'd have to have a change in our city ordinance to do that.
Oh, is that an ordinance?
Or policy? Yeah, it is.
We would have to make a policy decision so that we could publicize it.
Right. It was brought up about the beach access pass by Councilman Loftus, and Director Pitts stated that personnel will begin clearing the beach access pass and will continue into October until they are all cleared. We had some consideration of the contract for landscape design at 1801 Palm that we passed earlier. Just for brevity, that is for a landscape architect to come in, tag the certain species of plants so they're not removed during the clearing of that lot. as well as the contract for civil site engineering for 56th and 57th Avenue drainage. We did have a lot of discussion on our front beach public restrooms under new business. The prior discussions in our last city council meeting, we were all under the impression that it basically need to be replaced because it didn't meet the 50% rule for refurbishment. Between that meeting and our public works meeting, the city kind of took a step back, took a breath, realized the fact that perhaps we can make it work within there, but we needed a little bit more information on it, i.e. the value of the building, so we need to move forward on that. But prior to the discussion, Director Carr reviewed, had gone through and talked about the appraisals of it, and that he, stated that that's basically what we're going to need to move forward on in order to get a true appraisal, in order to figure out how much money can be spent on that. The new building would have to be built to the same standards of what the county park is, and there'd have to be a long walkway or an elevator to get back up to it. So we're just going to try to take the information that we get and discuss at the next Public Works meeting and try to come back with another decision on that. One of the problems that we noticed is the maintenance down there. What we want to do is try to increase our maintenance. Director Pritt stated that the problem is a lack of maintenance. He stated that it has 3 points. Stated that the facility needs to be shut down. It needs to be pressure washed and cleaned daily. Almost like it trends to be more of amusement parkish, so it needs to be treated as such, and the amount of people that come through there. So that's one thing that we're going to look into, is even whether it's a new building or refurbished existing buildings, one thing that the city's going to have to look into is either a contract for somebody to go through and maintain that building daily. Moving on. So we made a motion to go ahead and get an appraisal for that, and that will come out of the, who we say it was going to come out of? Professional services. So, contracts in excess of $10,000 was the new garbage truck. Hopefully we'll see that on the road before too long. We also discussed the TST and CTC funding. We were funded the money for our drainage. Beach monitoring for July, we're all within normal ranges. The administrator referred to trash collection reports and made 2 points as follows. As the trend continues to be less garbage and more debris, the city may need to look at the change in weekly collection schedule. And one noted that not all local governments pick up debris left by the landscapers. And the city may need to look at a change in code to make the landscapers responsible for their own debris when they do work on a lot. The administrator also informed us that the committee or the staff is preparing a letter to owners who have garbage cans or garbage corrals in the rights of way, and that they would need to be removed. Okay. A lot of discussion, but a lot of it.
Okay, very good,
decisions were made.
As we talked at Ways and Means, when you get further along on the restrooms and you have some monies identified or the volume of money, I don't think anyone here really wants to spend all of the city's taxpayers' money to work on the restrooms. So I'd like to approach county once we have a game plan put together. I know Jimmy's going to look in his old files, but once we know shape and have a direction, then we can approach them.
Absolutely, that's county cost. It's not a Isle of Palms cost.
At least that's where we're going.
It truly is. We need to get 100% of the money from them.
Sounds good.
Okay, Barb?
Yeah, just to compliment Donnie and his guys, the path of 31st was a complete jungle. I mean, if you had a child under 3 feet tall, you wouldn't have been able to see him walking down the path. And now it is like a boulevard. So the Turtle team appreciates it.
I actually had a telephone call about that today, complimenting Donnie's crew for doing that.
Yeah.
One call for every beach access? I mean, you
58 calls.
You won't be able to stand it.
Look for one call.
All right, let's go through the Recreation Committee, please.
Yeah, here we are. Meeting held September 9th. Everyone was attending. Again, as always, and every month I'm a broken record, the rec department is busy every day of the week. In fact, the building was open 351 hours this past month with only 1 3/4 hours overtime, so that's fabulous. So just a smattering of things. 14 children are registered for gymnastics. The 4-year-old pre-K program is full with 10 in each class. 15 children participate in the Kids Night Out in August, and the next activity is October 11th, coming right up. New class designed to expose children to sports in a fun manner has had 13 register. First middle school dance scheduled for the 13th. How many people attended that, do we know?
About 300.
Okay.
I heard it.
21 vendors are confirmed for the Community Wellness Fair, which is probably the most important thing I can say tonight. That takes place this coming Thursday from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. As in the past, East Cooper Medical Center will be offering blood work. A doctor on call will be giving flu shots. So everyone get out there, and I hear a knee doctor is going to be talking. I'm going to be first in line to hear that.
Okay.
Coming up, Ghostly Tide Tales will begin at 7 p.m. on Friday, October 25th at the 28th Avenue Beach Access. Annual Halloween Carnival will begin promptly at 5 o'clock on Thursday, October 31st. Costume contest will start at 5:30. The rec staff met with the East Cooper Crafters Guild. They would like to have a craft show apparently every Saturday, and we're trying to incorporate them into perhaps the Holiday Street Festival and other events. We've covered the lighting. Thank you very much. And next meeting is October 7th at 4 p.m. in the conference room.
Very good. Any questions for Rick? No. All right, let's move on to Personnel Committee, please.
Before we leave Recreation, I just want to mention that the Connector Run is always the first Saturday in October, and it does involve actually closing the Isle of Palms Connector first thing Saturday morning, so make your plans accordingly. It's supposed to be a pretty nice party afterwards as well.
I like the sign at the Exchange Club. Come for the run and stay for the party.
Yeah.
I noticed when I know they're always going to sweep the connector, usually right before that,
Yes.
but I noticed the overgrowth at the opposite end of the connector as well, around the railings, what have you, just...
It's crawling up. I haven't noticed that.
So it's just...
I try not to leave the island.
We can talk to Mount Pleasant about that.
I wasn't sure what...
Good idea.
Yeah, I knew it was
Okay.
scheduled to be swept, but the overgrowth... Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You don't want anybody falling into the vegetation.
No.
They do it once a year, just before you...
It looks like it was the last time it was done.
We've had a heavy growth season. All right, let's go through Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The regular meeting of the Personnel Committee was held at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 5th. Attending the meeting were Councilman Stone, Chair Thomas, Administrator Tucker, and City Clerk Copeland. Quorum was present to conduct business. The absence of Councilman Battelli was excused. The press has been duly notified. Councilman Stone moved to approve the minutes for the meeting of July 22nd, and they were approved unanimously. There was no citizens' comments. Chair moved to reorder the agenda to discuss the staffing in the fire department, and it was seconded by Councilman Stone. The Battalion Chief Smith accompanied Chief Graham to the meeting. Chief Graham stated she has requested information relative to pay and benefits from 7 other local fire departments and has received information from 4. She hopes to receive more information before making a formal request to the committee. From the information received thus far, the chief reported that most departments are doing step or merit increases plus cost of living. Cost of living adjustments. In addition, some departments are giving incentives for receiving emergency medical technician training. She assured the committee that she will have a full report on our October meeting. Administrator Tucker noted that the problem of keeping firefighters once they are trained at the present Isle of Palms is being used as a training ground for firefighters who then springboard to larger departments with more opportunities. This practice costs the city by constantly having to being in the train mode. Although the ideas behind the merit system were good, the system does not take into account is that unless the pool is as great as 8 to 10%, to make the awards, and the city cannot keep up with the expenses increases that are impacting people's salaries. For example, when an employee portion of the health insurance goes up and the employee Social Security tax increases as well, that increase can total 2 to 3% in expenses, while the employee receives a merit of 3% wage increase. The net increase is negligible. When the employees get excellent evaluations, it does not help them with the salaries that are available. Administrator Tucker stated that she did not think the committee needed to wait to make decisions relative to the addition of 1 firefighter per shift for Station 2 until a decision was reached on wages. One decision is not predicated on the other, despite the fact that the position was not budgeted. Councilman Stone stated that with the numbers that we are realizing in our community, the potential for calls, the risk of increased fire department personnel to the point that should very seriously consider hiring. It is not act to hire this third person per shift. Councilman Stone moved to recommend to Public Safety Committee that 1 firefighter per shift for Station 2 be approved, and it was unanimously approved by the council people there. Councilman Stone reiterated the city has an increased risk due to the population shift in the community. There are more people in the area than ever before as the residents, and an increased number of second homes, which are not primary residences for vacation rentals. Administrator Tucker added that the mutual aid and automatic aid, where it exists, are good, but the surrounding communities are growing at an alarming rate. Therefore, they are not available every time the city may need them. Then we got into discussion on appointments of boards and commissions. Administrator Tucker stated that there are 5 seats expiring on the ATAX committee, 2 seats expiring on the Board of Zoning Appeals, 2 seats expiring on the Code Board of Appeals, 3 seats expiring on the Planning Commission. Mary Alice Cruzy has indicated that she does not want to be reappointed to the ATAX committee. Scott Davidson states that he prefers not to be reappointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Sandy Ferenz of the ATAX committee and Patrick Harrington of the Planning Commission will be joining the City Council in January. Others in expiring seats have voiced desire to be reappointed. Councilman Stone moved to reappoint all existing seats with the desire of those who are desiring to continue to serve. Of the 5 new candidates, the committee members thought they did not need to interview Carol Rice, since we had already known her pretty well. Guidance employees bidding on, this is new business, guidance for employees bidding on surplus property. Administrator Tucker explained that the city's procurement code is silent on the issue of whether or not employees are allowed to bid on surplus equipment the city is selling. The administrator will task the city attorney to drafting language to make it that clear in the code. If the committee is uncomfortable with it, the city attorney would be asked to draft language for procurement code stating employees are excluded from bidding. Both Chair Thomas and Councilman Stone thought the employee should be allowed to bid on city property. Councilman Stone moved to allow employees to bid on city surplus equipment, and it was passed unanimously. Our next meeting will be 9 a.m. Thursday, October 3rd in the conference room. No executive session was needed. Councilman Stone moved to adjourn at 9:50 a.m. And our next meeting will be, we're here now. I don't have it down here.
It's 9 o'clock Thursday, October 3rd.
9 o'clock when?
Thursday, October 3rd.
Okay, Thursday, October 3rd.
That's what you just said.
I think. Oh, no, I got the sweepstakes winners. Recreation is Will McElhenney. Police Department is Gary Erickson. Public Works is George Myers. And Fire Department is Lynn Golden.
All right, very good. Any questions for personnel? Let's move on to Real Property Committee.
I'll do it. Sandy's gone. I'll handle it. Real Property Committee met Wednesday, September 4th at 5:30. Under Old business was, go figure, status of the tidal wave replacement docks. We had discussion, a meeting was held involving, we requested that a meeting was to be held involving all parties associated with the dock, i.e. the city staff, the Fem brothers, Philip Smith, the adjacent property owner, Jay Clark, Brian Berrigan, John Schaefer, our engineer. And all the possibilities were discussed, and everyone had the opportunity to discuss what was going to go on there. Suggestions were made to replace the tidal wave dock should stop, and perhaps energies going into the entire marina. It didn't go far. Ensuring what was to be done. The discussion finally honed down on what should be done with the dock, and was it possible to wait longer for the replacements, or could minor redesigns make it to the existing proposal. Mr. Schaefer, our engineer, made a trip to the marina for a visual inspection of the dock, and an assessment of the dock is as follows. The handrails are very dangerous and need to be replaced. The repairs made after dredging are holding. The walkway, the stationary part of the dock, is not to commercial standards, and as we mentioned that as well, it's a residential dock being used in a commercial application. Although not viewed at dead low tide, there were no major signs of rot in the visible portion of the piling. But in his opinion, the dock is not in a state of imminent failure, but there are areas of imminent concern. In the administrator's view, the committee's options are as follows: to move forward with the permit as originally designed, or to move forward with an alternate sketch. That's what we're trying to get to. There was much discussion on that. Was trying to get all these parties to agree on something is going to be difficult. That's why I said the next committee meeting more likely we'll make it for them.
Good.
We did have discussion of replacing the fuel dispensers at the marina. This is going to be good. What's going to be nice about it, with the blender option mix, we'll be able to purchase the non-ethanol gas at the pump instead of at the docks.
Right.
So we had some discussion of a permit for erosional area, to apply for erosional permit at Breach Inlet, although we had more discussion on that at our last meeting in Ways and Means, and we did not move forward with it.
It's coming back.
Yes, it'll come back to it's coming back to committee, so we're discussing it more. That's it. Our next meeting is October 3rd. We also had a real property special meeting, thinking that after all the members got together, that they would come up with a decision. So we met on Thursday at 4 o'clock, and was given some design options by our engineer. We got nowhere with it. We did get somewhere. We had some discussion, and it's still. I mean, I don't. It's going to be hard to make everybody pleased, everybody happy with what's going on there. And I think we're going to give them one more chance to try and work it out. And the committee's going to have to move forward at our next meeting and make the decision for them. We did, because of that, we've had to extend the scope of our ocean and coastal consultants contract, which we voted on earlier. So, where was that?
Okay.
Any questions?
The only thing I know when you're going to meet, again, you mentioned about consideration of a standby permit in the erosional area at Breach Inlet. The first pass at the cost of that was frankly prohibitive.
Correct.
At that size, but the offer of looking at maybe a preliminary feasibility study or something more moderate. There is money available this year at OCRM. I've asked the OCRM director to let us know if that monies can be applied in the, say, permitting or even feasibility study. Now, before you're willing to do any work studying it, can monies from OCRM be applied for that? Usually it's a match, 50 cents to the dollar. I've not got an answer yet, so I want the committee to keep going. If they think it's worthwhile, then I'll go back and kick them again to see if they have modified or refined their regulations to allow that to be funded out of their camp. So it may not be all our money if we're successful.
Good.
So any other comments on the property? Tiger by the tail.
Yes.
All right, report of boards and commissions, no meeting for ATAX. You have the zoning appeals and Planning Commission minutes in your package. I don't see anybody raising their hand wanting to discuss any. I'll move down to item 9, introduction of new bills and resolutions and proclamations. As you just heard, this is a first reading by title only of ordinance 2013-11, an ordinance amending Title I, Government Administration, Chapter 10, Purchasing Procedures, Section 1-10-10, Financial Interests of City Officers and Employees Prohibited, City of Isle of Palms Code of Ordinances to permit the award of contracts to city employees at public auction for the sale of city personal properties or surplus supplies under certain conditions. I'll make that as a motion.
Second.
We'll take this up for, over the next month, we'll discuss it at the next meeting for second reading, so all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nothing heard? Motion carries. Thank you. We're up to now a resolution for the adoption of a revised Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. How's your voice?
My voice is fine. I'd be happy to read it. Whereas the City of Isle of Palms has experienced the effects of natural and man-made hazard events, and whereas the Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Project Committee has prepared and recommended Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan, and whereas the recommended Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan has been widely circulated for review by residents, business organizations, professional organizations of the unincorporated and incorporated areas of Charleston County, state, federal, regional, and local government agencies, and has been supported by these reviewers. And whereas the City of Isle of Palms originally adopted the Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan in 1999 and readopted it in subsequent years, and is required to adopt the amended version of this plan for the county and the city to remain eligible for certain federal programs in which Charleston County participates. And now therefore be it resolved that the Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan is hereby adopted as an official plan of the City of Isle of Palms, and two, the Charleston Regional Hazard Mitigation Project Committee is recognized as the continuing entity charged with reviewing, maintaining, in accordance with the Community Rating System, Flood Mitigation Assistance, and Disaster Mitigation Act requirements, and periodically reporting on the progress towards and revisions to the plan to the Isle of Palms City Council, effective this 24th day of September 2013. Dick Cronin, Mayor.
Okay, we have a resolution. I'll move to approve the resolution as read.
Second.
Do I have a second? This is an important step for us to qualify under FEMA, among other things.
That's correct.
So, I'm certain you've studied it on the website, so committed it to memory. So, any other discussion? None heard, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Miscellaneous business, discussion of terminating extended hours at parking kiosks. The hours will, you have a document there, I guess. They'll naturally terminate next week?
There's usually not a charge for the connector run. And the connector run's the first set. That's correct.
So that'll be next week.
And with the information that I had, there was some discussion that Councilman Buchanan mentioned related to our financial statements at the Ways and Means Committee, that where it looked like we'd seen a 40% increase, but that was some timing issues. And on the parking lot revenues, the actual adjusted number for timing and everything else was $6,429 for the parking lot, and that was a 53% increase, so that was fairly significant there. And on the parking meter revenues, the adjusted increase was $15,114, or a 19% increase. So we had a rounded, blended 24% increase in $21,543. So that's going in and manipulating the numbers to match the timing of the revenues to get to the true 40. So rather than 40, it was 24%. And some of that, it's hard to nail down how much of it had to do with increased traffic and how much of it had to do with extended hours. But certainly the extended hours were some component of that revenue.
We didn't extend the hours enough to generate that much revenue.
Right.
No, am I correct that we also increased the fee for the lot by?
That's correct.
From prior year.
So from $5 to $6, so that's a significant increase that should be included in that.
Right.
So that should definitely skew the numbers.
Jimmy?
You know, we all like the revenue and everything, but a lot of complaints from locals from the 6 to 8 p.m. They're used to going down there and having dinner and maybe happy hour at the Windjammer or whatever, and they're not happy about it. I mean, I know, I've done some research, and I know there's no way we can issue a special permit for residents without issuing it for everybody. We can't exclude ourselves, but that's just my observation. I hope we'll take a real hard look at it next spring before we do anything, whether to decide to continue or not.
The item in the public safety report that
I skipped over.
that you skipped over, and the chief's not here, when he reported on his troops' feeling of what transpired, he said it was a tremendous, and he doesn't use the word tremendous very often, he uses a tremendous benefit from a public safety standpoint in getting control of the situations that we're developing down there.
Okay.
And the word tremendous is written in the minutes, I noticed also.
Well, that's tremendously important. Yeah.
I've heard it twice now. So, Jimmy?
Mr. Mayor, the city of Charleston down at the city marina and the variety store, you know, I brought it up before about a validation on the tickets, and I know our tickets are sold a different way, but still there could be something we could think about, a validation for the tickets for people who go and use our vendors and spend money. So it's something to think about.
Good. We're all for, I mean, the more business activity that happens on Front Beach, we're all better off for it.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm certain the police department would be much happier also.
Tremendous.
Use tremendous benefit, not just people milling around because they get free parking.
Right.
All right. No other business. At present, we have a next meeting at September 24th at 2013. I would like to ask that we go into executive session, however, right now.
October.
Did I say October? Oh,
Today
I said
being
September.
September.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, we have an event tomorrow night you need to announce.
Oh,
That's right. Jammer for Jammer.
The
Jammer for Jammer. Come out and support Sea Turtle Rescue. The Windjammer from 7 to 10. Almost all of our restaurants are supplying food. $15 donation at the door, and you can have the Boathouse and Morgan Creek and Cabana, all of them. 2 bands, a great silent auction, which has been heavily supported, and we're hoping we're contributing to the expansion of the Turtle Hospital, which is going to take over part of the first floor of the aquarium and be sort of a state-of-the-art facility over the next 3-4 years.
Okay, very good.
Should be a tremendous night.
Tremendous.
But remember to pay the meters.
That's right.
Had to get it in, and I don't want to complain. All right, I'm going to recommend we go into executive session to receive legal advice for potential claims.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right.
There's no whining.
We're into executive session.
No whining on the yacht.
Got it. Gotcha. I'll let you know about the 18th.